Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to On the Bright Line podcast, Tales from Recovering Food Addicts from the perspective of a physician, a therapist, and an off-the-wall storyteller. We are not affiliated or endorsed by Brightline Eating, and all content presented in this podcast represents our personal opinions and does not represent medical, nutritional, or psychological professional advice. So on today's episode, we are going to be talking about body image, all things body image related, how you view yourself and your body image, how the world views you. We think this is a really important topic because especially as your body changes and you lose weight and you change sizes, there can be some, I'll throw the buzzy word out, the dysmorphia. Around the way that you view yourself and then the way others view you. So I think we'll just go hard hitting first and we'll talk about our own body image. I know Bonnie's cringing. So because I'm going to throw it to you, Bonnie, you want to talk about your own body image and how that's changed through the program? And I mean, even historically, like what you thought of your body, I think is a good place maybe to start.
Yeah, I think I remember going through puberty and I was already getting, a pooch in my tummy and my thighs were kind of big. And compared to other kids my age, I'm short. And so it's not as noticeable to some people.
Short meaning?
Under 5'2". I'm 5'1.5".
The half.
But I remember just constantly looking in the mirror and thinking, oh, if I could just have that, suck my stomach in a little bit and be a little thinner. And I wish my thighs didn't look like that, right? And so that was we're talking 13. I mean, from the beginning. And I wasn't overweight.
Right.
I was not overweight at that time at all. But just the shape of my body, genetically. I don't look like, a skinny supermodel. Never did, never, I didn't at pre-pubertally, I don't think, right? So, and I think we talked about this in a previous episode, but my mom would tell me that, you're thin enough if your knees touch together and you can see light between your thighs, and that is just not my body shape, right? So, so I was already worried about it and didn't like it. And, it's that thing, I think everybody has this, gosh, you look back at pictures of yourself, well, how could I have not been happy with my body then, right? I mean, I would love to have that body now, right? But I was never happy with it. And then I think, as I started gaining weight, in my middle age years, when I stopped doing habitual ritual exercise, excessive exercise, and intermittent starvation, and I just kind of let it go. And I was like, I did I'm middle-aged now and I can just make peace with it and who cares what my body looks like. And I did that kind of denial thing. What's the, the part of me that just was like, screw it, I don't have to worry about this anymore. So I just took the part of me that used to worry about it and I stuffed that way down. It's not like it went away, but stuffed it down and then, got really heavy. I got 70 pounds overweight and I had, again, just kind of made peace with it. When I finally decided to kind of get control of things and found BLE and started losing weight, I definitely think there was an initial feeling of wanting your body to look good. There was that vanity thing of I want my body to look good, and so that's part of what I'll get out of this. I'll lose the weight and it'll look good. And then the reality hits that, as I am now in my 50s, and I was 70 pounds overweight at only 5'1.5". I carried all my weight, in my chest, around my belly and in my upper thighs. And so that skin stretched out to accommodate all that weight. And it is now kind of saggy. And so, I remember, I went to buy a bathing suit last year and I was able to buy a size 4 bathing suit, which is really small. I've never been a size 4. Again, guys, I went from at 12, I was in a kid's 12 and then I was in a 7-8. It's just I skipped 0, 2, 4, 6. Those didn't happen, right? And so I'm in this size 4 bathing suit, and I'm just looking in the mirror in the dressing room, and I just wanted to start crying, because it's I'm looking at just my thigh skin, it's just kind of hanging. Right. And so this has been a process of coming back to reality and going, all right, you're in your mid-50s. You were never interested in being a supermodel, so this is not like there's a job that is no longer on my, my future capacities. And it's I have a healthy body and I can do a lot more with my body than I could. And hopefully I'm going to live to see, you know, my great grandkids graduate high school, right? Hopefully I'm going to live a beautiful, full life in this healthier body. And I didn't do this so that I could look pretty to somebody or whatever. And so I have had to kind of make peace with that. I recently, and we've talked about this, not on the podcast yet, but I recently noticed in the community, like somebody posting about they were going to have surgery to remove skin and showing pictures of what their tummy and their thighs look like. And I mean, I didn't come from, you know, over 100 pounds of weight loss, but I can so relate with just the way your flesh looks as you lose weight when you've been significantly overweight. And I'd love to see more pictures of that, even though I know it's so brave and so painful for people to post that. But I love seeing it because it's like, we need to normalize that.
Yep.
We need to normalize that if you're very overweight and you lose a bunch of weight, the skin's going to hang down and those little cellulite bits are going to be in there. And these are human bodies. And this is what human bodies look like. And there's nothing wrong with it. It means you got healthy. You know, and yes, if you've got skin rubbing, you need to have it removed because that's painful and uncomfortable, but you shouldn't need to have skin removed or have something done just because you're worried about what someone else thinks about what it looks like, and you yourself should not judge yourself that way. But that's a lot for many of us to get past, right? But that's been my journey with it. I've really kind of made peace with, I mean, I'm not going to say I enjoy looking at myself in the mirror in a bathing suit for a prolonged period of time. But I am now comfortable putting on a bathing suit and, like, you know, I go swim at the public pool because I like swimming laps, and I don't feel uncomfortable or embarrassed or anything to just be in a one-piece bathing suit that's not covering my thighs. I'm not in like a, you know, I'm not in bike pants or something. I mean, I feel comfortable being who I am, and I don't feel like I'm being judged, and I don't judge myself, and I've just had to get to that point. So that's kind of how I feel. How about you?
Well, I was Robin. Do you want me to talk or do you have
You go.
thoughts? Okay. This is going to be a lot. I'm sorry, guys.
Go.
The loose skin is a struggle for me. So was starting back to the beginning of my body image journey, and I have also talked about this before on the podcast, is that I became overweight at 13. So, you know, again, pre-pubescent or right at puberty. And during my middle school, high school years, really personified like the tomboy, because at that point there weren't cute girly clothes. So the clothes that I could fit in were, you know, thrifted jeans in the men's section and big t-shirts and that sort of thing. So that's what I wore, and didn't feel comfortable in my body at all at that point. And then in my early 20s became really empowered to love my body for what it was. Still overweight and large at that point, but just really love my body for what it was. And no matter what size I was going to be cute. I was going to wear the clothes I wanted to wear. I wasn't going to let anybody tell me like what was allowed and what wasn't allowed for my body size. Really before body positivity was a thing. I know I've said that before, like, is that I really embraced that. And then as body positivity became more of a thing, I definitely like latched onto that as a movement. So I've been on a weight loss journey. Like I did lose a bunch of weight before, and didn't have the amount of loose skin that I have now because it was pre-children and it was, you know, 10 plus years ago. I remember we had a patient who had lost a very significant amount of weight and had a ton of loose skin. And I honestly think that I had a fear for a long time about losing weight because of that. Like seeing that like personified, and I still think about that today when I think about loose skin and the way that my body looks. I think about her and how stressed out that makes me, and I will admit that there's vanity. That's vanity. Like it is 100% vanity that I don't want to look like that. And so for me, I'm still struggling a lot with loose skin and what the possibilities are. So I have lost now about 110 pounds. Just got into Wonderland. So 199, woohoo, for the first time in my adult life. So that's a big deal. I want to pause there. For the first time in my adult life, I'm under 200 pounds, which is great. And that should be enough, right? That should be enough right there. It should be. But yet I still have the vanity of...
And you now hike miles a week with this body that
I
you could
do.
never do that before.
I do.
Yeah.
I know. But I just struggle with the loose skin. So what my commitment has been to myself, and, you know, Bonny and Robin know this, I've told them, and other people as well, is that whenever I get to goal weight, I am going to hold at least for a year before I make any decisions. But that for me, surgical options aren't off the table. And I think a lot of that too, I know mobility can be an issue for people with a lot of loose skin. And so I want to make sure that I don't have mobility issues, meaning like I don't get rashes and, you know, just feel like I'm impeded in my movement because of my skin. But there's also the vanity involved of, you know, and I know there's people in the community that have had skin removal. And, you know, I think there's good results. I think there's, you know, maybe not good results, just depending on where you go and what your skin, you know, the shape of your skin was and all that kind of stuff. So I will weigh this very heavily when the time comes, when I get to that place. But yeah, I think for myself, like, I definitely feel like in clothes I look good now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just like, it's so funny because, you know, we live close to each other, but we see each other every couple weeks or so, right? Yeah. And with the amount of weight that I'm losing, it's like every time you guys see me, there's a comment.
Different Meagan.
Yeah, there's a comment about how much smaller I am. And it's great. Like, obviously that's very affirming. And I look at myself in the mirror and I have incredible dysmorphia for my size. Just that I can't believe that this is the size of the body that I live in now. So I still have some disconnect there for sure. And, you know, I will admit, like, seeing 199 on the scale, I was like, it's a fluke. Like, it's not gonna stay. Like, there's no way I can be under 200 pounds because I've never done that before. So I think all that to say, I still have a lot of work to do when it comes to my vanity with the loose skin and what my decisions will be. But I also I don't want to put myself through, you know, surgical procedures that I don't have to go through. So for me, it's more about like, I want to wait and see what's going to come, because I'm not done losing. I'm still in weight loss. So I'm not done losing weight yet. And that you know, once I get to whatever my bright body is, whatever that goal weight is, that I want to see what that looks like with the skin and all. So yeah, that's my body image.
And listening to both of you talk, like, so many things were running through my head. The idea of the impact of social media on what we think bodies, again, quote unquote, should look like, and what's normal and not normal. And Bonnie, when you were talking about, you know, wishing that more people would post pictures of their post weight loss bodies, or even their progress weight loss bodies, so that we are normalizing what bodies, real bodies, actually look like, that are not supermodels out there that
or
are
airbrushed,
airbrushed, right? AI bods. Because I think so much of what we are seeing in the media now is fake or unrealistic.
Well, and I'll comment on this as someone who does do a lot of posting on social media. I edit myself. If I feel like something doesn't look good, I'm not going to post it. Sure. And so, I mean, that is definitely high in my mind as someone who does want to support the community of weight loss in whatever, you know, in whatever you look like. I still struggle with being that authentic and like, that doesn't look attractive. Like, I'm not sure I want to post that. And I don't want to say that to like, oh yeah, I'm totally curating everything I put out there. Like, I'm pretty authentic as far as like my personality and stuff. But I will say, with the way that I look, I don't put on makeup. No, I don't put on makeup, but I do make sure my hair looks okay.
Right.
But yeah, I do. I mean, I think that it's rough. And it's not even because I think people are going to say bad things about me, because no one has.
It's just your internal vision of yourself and the judgment. I mean, the self-judgment, which is, again, just a deep-seated.
Yes.
It is really, no one else really gives a crap what we look like.
Right.
I mean, if you're a movie star and they're posting stuff, people will, but even when people are making those comments, it's a deflection.
Sure.
It's a projection of their own insecurity about themselves when they're saying that some famous person doesn't look good. Right. In reality, when we're walking around in the world, no one is looking at you going, oh my God, right?
Well, this brings us to our next topic. Did you have something to say before we move on, Robin?
No. I was going to jump in about judgment.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so like something else we wanted to talk about on this episode is how the rest of the world views you, especially when you're in weight loss and you're in a significant amount of weight loss. Yep. So if you want to go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, but that concept of judgment, that we have become this society where judgment has somehow become acceptable in some areas, right? And that
Well, it can be anonymous.
yes,
And
that
you can hide behind,
Yes.
social media
Yes.
to make your rude comment.
that people will say things on social media that they would never say to your face.
Right.
And we as a society, I'll get on my soapbox, we as a society need to examine that, and we need to be willing to examine ourselves and our social media use of, does this really need to be said?
Yeah.
Do I really need to post this comment about so-and-so? What is the purpose of me saying X, Y, Z?
Thumper's rule.
Thumper's
you can't
rule.
say something
Yep,
nice
you bet.
about someone. Don't say anything
Well,
at all.
and I want to say the BLE community
Oh my gosh.
is amazingly
Yeah.
supportive.
Oh, I
and,
love that.
Oh, I mean, even not just in Facebook, because like the Facebook community is closed and protected
Right.
by the membership. But like even I mean, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and I've posted, the transformation videos of like big to small, and all, like I've
Yeah.
never had a negative comment, and I know it's going to come eventually, but I've not had a negative comment about how I used to look, how I look now. Only support. Only
Yeah.
people are like, congratulations, you look amazing, way to go, how did you do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Those sorts of questions, not, oh, you still need to lose weight. Whatever
Right.
the negativity could be. Like, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah,
but,
the kindness inside our community is amazing.
Yeah.
And Susan Pierce Thompson talks about wanting to make 1 million bright transformations. How cool would it be if 1 million people, in addition to having bright transformations, were all putting that kind of positive energy out on
energy.
social media, right?
Right.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing is like, it's something to think about when you're
Yeah.
on social media in general. Can you be an agent for positive comments, because they become attractive to others. If you
Yes.
start making positive comments, it stimulates other people to
Yes.
make
Yep.
positive comments, and becomes becomes a train of positive comments.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that, another thing we should talk about is other people's perception of you, and especially when you're losing
Yeah.
weight,
Yeah.
and what that looks like. So, Bonnie, did you want to?
I think, like I said, I lost 70 pounds, so it's not super dramatic. It's not like,
You stop 70
no, I'm
Right,
just saying,
right.
I'm just saying, like, it's not 100 pounds or 200. The change isn't as dramatic as someone
It
coming
was
from
still
very big
dramatic
numbers.
though.
Yes.
Something from seeing you before and seeing you
Absolutely,
now.
absolutely. But what I'm saying is, even though it was not a huge amount,
Yeah.
Right.
there was still people along the way. It's like, are you losing too much weight?
Yes.
You probably aren't. You going to stop now?
Right.
And it's like, I'm a physician. I know what the body mass index is, and where you should be on your goal weight doesn't really even have to fall into the BMI range, but the BMI range is pretty wide. Normal body mass index is, anywhere from like 18.5 to 25. It's a huge range of weight. So if you go to a BMI calculator online, you can put in your weight and height, and then you can see the difference of what 18.5 and 25 would be. It's like 25 pounds or something of a
Sure.
range. So I was not even in the 25 range yet when people were like, oh my gosh. And what happens is, as you're first losing weight, you actually lose weight in your face, depending on where you carry your weight. And you can get, you look a little sunken, or you can look at people that have lost a lot of weight, before and after. And it just looks to people like you're sick, and I understand that. I think it is a normal reaction. And, Megan and I were talking about this, if you haven't seen someone in a while and you suddenly see them and they're a lot lighter, it's kind of just shocking.
Right.
And they're going to make a comment on it. And it doesn't mean they're trying to be mean or that they're trying to get in your business. And I know when we're all on a journey of weight loss, we're already got a lot of sensitivity. So it can be jarring to have someone commenting on your physical body.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a normal, reaction to just seeing someone that's changed a lot. And
Right.
it's worrying because it just looks like something bad might have happened. I get it. We sent out, I sent out like a holiday card every year, end of the year card, just telling my friends and family, what's been going on, and including pictures for people that we don't see very often, so they can just see you and say hi.
Yeah.
And so I included this picture of us at a family gathering, and I wrote on there, that Clay and I have been doing the Bright Line Eating, and so we're really happy to have found it, and we're a lot healthier now. And one of our friends commented back to me, I'm so glad you said that, because I thought Clay had cancer,
Oh,
because
wow.
his weight loss in his face and everything was just more
Very
dramatic,
dramatic.
right? And so, so I think it's a normal thing that happens. You have to kind of be prepared for it and try not to be super sensitive. I mean, it's not okay if people are saying mean stuff or projecting their own, I don't really want to have to lose weight, so I need you to stop.
I need you to
because
stop, yeah.
your weight loss is making me have to confront
Right. Yeah.
my hard truths.
Right.
And so people can get aggressive about, you need to stop, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
That's not okay. But when people are like, oh my gosh, you've lost a lot of weight. What happened? Or is
Yeah.
everything okay?
Right.
Or what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a little bit like, oh, I might want to do what you're doing. Tell me
Right.
about it. Great.
Right.
Yeah.
We can talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have two stories. I think two. I at least have one story. So I went to a work event that wasn't like everybody on my staff, and we work remotely, so a lot of us have not seen each other or only seen each other on camera. So I probably hadn't seen people in at least 6 months. So we're talking about at least 70 pounds of weight
Right.
loss.
Wow, yeah.
So
Right.
a lot of weight loss. And so I go up to someone who I know and who knows me, and she said, I didn't even know who you were. I had to ask somebody who you were.
Oh, wow.
And she said, well, no, this funny thing is she was like, it's your hair. She's like, because your hair is different, right? And I looked at her and I was like, it's not my hair. I was like, it's everything below my hair, but it's not my hair. I was like, I've lost 100 pounds. She's like, oh, and it's just really funny because people I've had multiple, and I do, like, I have purple hair right now for those of you that aren't watching us on YouTube.
Right.
I have done radically different things with my hair over the years, but for the amount of time that I've been doing Billy until very recently, within the last couple of weeks, I've had the same hairstyle with no color, just my normal, salt and pepper gray stuff that I have. And like literally hadn't changed my hair. So I was like, it's not my hair. I know it's not my hair,
That's funny.
but you can't reconcile. They couldn't reconcile in their mind
Right.
that I had lost like a whole bunch of weight.
Right.
So then the other thing is that like I've had the conversation like with my husband, who when we had been doing triathlons before and I had lost a whole bunch of weight, at one point said, okay, can you stop?
Oh.
Not in a mean way,
Right.
just in a, I like you with a little more, plumpness on your
Right,
body.
right.
And so I actually went to him the other day and I was like, look, like, I understand, like, this is how, how are you doing with me
Right.
being this weight?
Yeah.
Because I'm smaller than I've ever been in our entire marriage. And he said to me, he said, I know the reason why you're doing it. I know that you're doing it for your health and because you are concerned about your health. So he's like, it doesn't matter what you look like.
What's really interesting is, in our relationship, when we were doing triathlon and I was losing weight, I got the same comment. You
Yeah.
can stop now because I like you a little bigger.
Yeah.
But now that we've done BLE together, that has not even come up in the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think there was a little bit of, for him, a little bit of like, again, if you're doing this, it's kind of putting it in my face that this
Sure.
might be something I
Yeah.
need to do, and
Sure.
I'm not ready to do that. I'm not in a point
Sure.
where I can do that, and it's making me uncomfortable because I'm kind of having to confront the discordance there. So I think that's a thing too. Again, I think
for sure.
it's a combination of from everybody in our lives about, some of them are just happy for you and delighted
Sure.
with whatever that your healthy transformation. Some of them are worried genuinely because they're worried you're going to lose too much, or
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this thing you're doing, no sugar, no flour, it's so obsessively
Right.
weird.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
you're starving
We're
yourself.
part of a cult.
It's wrong.
You're starving yourself, or it's dangerous, right? In
Right,
some
right.
way,
Yeah.
they're genuinely worried for
Yeah.
your health. Like, oh, not like I wanted you to be overweight, but I'm so worried that you're starving yourself to
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
And then there's just people that are, that are surprised, or that have their own internal thing where they are uncomfortable about the fact that they might also need to make some changes and they're not ready. And it's
Right.
just, I guess it would be like, and we're going to talk about this in another episode, but if you quit smoking and then you're around your friends that smoke and then you're talking about how great you feel that you quit smoking, I can imagine, right? That might
Right.
make them like, oh, this conversation is making me
Right.
kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I've already had people ask me, like, how much more weight are you going to lose and stuff like that. And I am literally still obese. Like, I'm still in the obese category when it comes to BMI. And I understand some people don't ascribe to that, and
Right.
that's fine. But I'm just saying, like,
You're not anorexic at this point.
I'm
or,
nowhere near
or,
anorexic.
yeah.
I still have plenty.
You're not emaciated. At
No,
this point.
Yes.
I still have plenty of adipose tissue to give. So I'm still giving.
If only we could sell it.
Right,
That would be
right.
nice. We could bottle it and sell it.
Right.
But I don't think anybody wants it. So maybe those people who are getting the BBLs, maybe they want it. Bonnie's looking at me like, what's a BBL? Okay, everybody can laugh at Bonnie out there that she doesn't know. No, a Brazilian butt lift.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a whole nother discussion that we're
Right.
not going to go into
Right.
here on the podcast.
That's another podcast.
Do we have anything else to say about? Oh, Robin has something to say.
I want to circle back because I forgot to talk. I wanted to talk about phantom fat, right? And so I know I love that word. Phantom fat is that difficulty with perceiving your body being the new size that it is. Right?
Me,
Whoop, whoop.
I'm raising my hand.
Right?
Me.
Because that is a very real thing. Like, I know when you come from big numbers or really any numbers, is perceiving your new body as being the actual size that it is. And I love, Meagan, you'll post like the face-to-face pictures because the difference is so amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that for some people that can be a really important thing to do, whether that's even just, and you've posted some pictures of you like in your old jeans.
Oh yeah, I haven't done one of those in a while.
I
I need to do one of those.
Yeah. Because that starts making it real of,
I didn't think about the fact of posting it or identifying it for yourself. Like
Yeah.
that's one, you're kind of posting it to let other people see it's possible.
Yeah.
But there
Right.
is a thing about,
I
there's
think the
days I just
before-
wake up and I'm just like, I'm so
Right.
fat today.
But I think
Right.
that's why the before and
It's like,
after is
right.
so important. And I
Yeah.
will tell you, like, if you've done the program, that's one of the first things they tell
Yeah.
you to do in the prep stage of the program is to take your before pictures. And I know it's painful. And I don't even have an actual before
Yeah.
picture. I have a picture that Bonnie took of me on the top, or maybe it was Robin, one of us, took of me on the top of a mountain
Yep.
that I almost died on a climb up.
Yep.
But I will tell you that, I mean, I don't even
Yeah.
have a literal before picture because I was so mortified by the way, by how I felt about myself, not even by the way
it's
I looked.
such a hard thing.
Yeah, but I think it's so important because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
being able to put those up side by side, having that comparison, it can be instrumental when you have dysmorphia,
Yes.
like I do, about the way I actually look now, to see myself up against what I used to. I can't, and then I see the old picture and I'm like, I was that size.
Right.
And something else, and I don't mean to, like continue to harp on this, but like I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard somebody say, talking to somebody about like there's a size that we see ourselves at,
Yeah.
and like bigger or smaller than that, we have dysmorphia for whatever that size.
Right.
Oh, somebody I was hiking with the other day. That's where we were talking about it. But it's like you have a dysmorphia on either side of that,
Yeah.
bigger or
Yep.
smaller. That like this is not the size that you view your mental image. I mean, can you talk about that, Robin? Because I'm like, I don't know.
That we have this image of ourselves as a certain size or even certain age, I think. Right?
Yeah.
And so-
25.
yeah.
35.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm probably about 30 or so, right? And so that I think those comparisons help make it real for us.
Yeah.
They help build literally new neural pathways in our brain to a different image of ourselves. And so that perhaps by repeating that with photos, I'm such a visual person.
Yeah.
And even, the old jeans, hanging on to the old jeans.
Yeah, the one pair.
Right? That
My favorite
one pair.
My favorite pair.
I don't know what module
Yeah.
it's in, but Susan talks about, your perception of yourself is built on what you see yourself doing,
Yep.
right? And so the more you see yourself in the size you are, in
Yeah.
the shape you are,
Yeah.
the more you will believe that. But I
Yeah.
think, like you're saying, it takes literally seeing an external side-by-side picture of what you look like
Yeah.
now and what you look like then. And you have to keep looking at that, I think.
Yeah,
You have to
absolutely.
keep,
Well, and
and
I
it
think you
does
need to
take
see
time.
the side by side too, because I think that's like even if you're looking at an old picture of yourself and not looking at a new picture of
Yeah.
yourself, that you can identify with that old picture rather
Yes.
than actually seeing
Yes.
what the new picture.
What
like
the
I think,
reality is.
yeah, I think we trick. I mean, I know I do. I trick my brain a lot. I mean, my brain just tells me I'm bigger than I am right now, all the time.
I wonder about experiences of going and buying clothes,
Oh,
right? Like being willing to pick up the smaller size.
it's hard, and I hold the clothes up in front of me because I mean, so just like let's talk numbers. Most of my like adult life, I was probably 22, 24, maybe smaller, maybe even bigger than that at some point, but like I would say like solid 22, 24. So always in plus sizes,
Right.
always in plus sizes. And so coming down now to wearing non-plus size clothing, and like number one, we know fashion is weird.
Yes.
The numbers on the clothes are weird, but I hold up the clothes that will actually fit on my body now, and I know I've said this in a previous podcast, but I'm gonna say it again. They look like children's clothing,
Yep.
because they look so small. And I will tell
Yeah.
you, Bonnie gave me a shirt that used to be Robin's or
Oh.
other way.
That Robin gave me.
Yes.
Robin gave Bonny a shirt that's
Right.
too big for Bonny now, and Bonny gave it to me. And Bonny said she laughed because it was in one of my videos that I posted on Instagram. She was like, "That's so funny because that shirt's been through all of us
Right.
now."
I love
but it's
that.
like I can now wear a shirt that Bonny used to
The sisterhood
wear,
of the
and
traveling
it
pants.
just like blows my mind because
Right.
in my mind, Bonny is so much smaller than me, and has always been so much smaller than me. Like I've always been the big one of the group, and it's like the fact that I can wear something that you and I have more clothes with Bonny's, to be perfectly honest. She's been handing me down stuff for a little while, which is nice. But it's a trip. It's totally a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do we have anything else to say about body image? That was a great conversation.
We had a little sprinkles action in there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did have.
yeah.
I mean, I think everybody loves sprinkles. We love sprinkles. God, love you, sprinkles. We're gonna start putting it out there at the end of every episode, just so everyone knows. We would love to take questions. If you have questions for us about the program, about why the sky is blue, Bonny could probably answer that. I definitely
Right.
can't.
Yeah.
Please send us an email on thebrightlinepodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on one of our social media channels, DM, whatever avenue you want to talk to us. We would love to take your questions and start, putting those out on the podcast. So let us know. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll talk to you next time.